Nursing 474, Epidemiology. Here again are the weekly learning objectives that I presented in the first PowerPoint. These are the learning objectives 1 through 5. Here are the learning objectives number 6 through 9. Again, they were presented in the first PowerPoint. Definitions of health and public health. In 1978, the World Health Organization, WHO, affirmed that health, which is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity, is a fundamental human right, and the attainment of the highest possible level of health is the most important social goal. Public health has been described as a system and social enterprise, a profession, a collection of methods, knowledge, and techniques, governmental health services, especially medical care for the poor and underserved, and the health status of the public. In 1988, the Institute of Medicine, IOM, stated the mission of public health was to fulfill society's interest in assuring conditions in which people can be healthy, indicating a societal interest in the health of all its members, but cautioned that this broad view of health and the role of the public health professionals and agencies forces practitioners to make difficult choices about where to focus their energies and raises the possibility that such a broad definition could lose distinctive meaning. Definition and descriptions of epidemiology. Epidemiology is the study of the occurrence and distribution of health-related states and events in specified populations, including the study of determinants influencing such states and the application of this knowledge to control health problems. Descriptive epidemiology studies the distribution of disease and other health-related states and events in terms of personal characteristics, geographical distribution, and temporal patterns. Analytical epidemiology looks at the origins and the causal factors of these events. You need to be aware of basic concepts in epidemiology. A proportion is a type of ratio in which the denominator includes the numerator, such as 28% of deaths in the United States are caused by heart disease. A rate is a measure of frequency of a health event in a defined population during a specified time. A rate is a measure of how rapidly something is happening and deals with change from one state to another over time. Risk refers to the probability that something will occur within a specified time. The incidence proportion indicates the proportion of the population at risk who experience the event over time. The incident rate reflects the number of new cases developing in a population at risk during a specified time. It estimates the risk of developing the disease in the observed population within a specified time. The prevalence proportion is a measure of existing disease in a population at a particular time. Prevalence proportion measures existing causes of disease and is affected by factors that influence risk and by factors that influence survival or recovery. Therefore, it is difficult to sort out what factors are related to risk and what factors are related to survival or recovery. Incident rates and incident proportions, on the other hand, are the measures of choice to study etiology because incidence is affected only by factors related to the risk of developing disease and not to the survival or cure. The attack rate is a form of incidence proportion commonly employed in investigations of infectious agents. Mortality rates are key epidemiological indicators but informative only for fatal diseases and do not provide direct information about either the level of existing disease in the population or the risk of getting any particular disease. Infant mortality rates are used around the world as an indicator of overall health and availability of health services and measures the number of deaths to infants in the first year of life divided by the total number of live births. The epidemiological triangle, web of causality, and ecological model. The traditional triangle indicates the relationships among causal agents, susceptible persons, and environmental factors. The web of causality, a related concept, more adequately illustrates the complex interrelationships of numerous factors interacting to increase or decrease the risk of disease. The ecological model for population health expands epidemiological studies both upward to broader concepts and downward to the genetic and molecular levels. There are levels of preventative interventions. The natural history of disease is seen as a continuum from pre-pathogenesis through asymptomatic stages to clinical manifestations and eventual resolution. Levels of prevention are related to these stages of health and disease. Primary prevention refers to interventions aimed at preventing the occurrence of disease, injury, or disability. Secondary prevention includes interventions designed to increase the probability that a person with a disease will have that condition diagnosed at a stage when treatment is likely to result in cure. Tertiary prevention provides interventions aimed at disability, limitation, and rehabilitation from disease, injury, or disability. Screening, a key component of secondary prevention, involves testing groups or individuals who are at risk for a certain condition but are not yet symptomatic. A screening test is not a diagnostic test. Reliability is the precision or reproducibility of a measure. Validity in a screening test is measured in terms of the probability of correctly classifying an individual with regard to the disease or outcome of interest. Surveillance involves the systematic collection, analysis, and interpretation of data related to the occurrence of disease and the health status of a given population. Passive surveillance is the more common form used by most local and state health departments, in which healthcare providers in the community report cases of notifiable diseases to public health authorities and is relatively inexpensive. Active surveillance is the purposeful, ongoing search for new cases of disease, often used for brief periods and specific purposes because it is costly. There's basic methods in epidemiology. Sources of data. There are three categories of common sources of data for epidemiological studies. They are routinely collected data, such as the United States Census, which conducts the census every 10 years, vital statistic records, and surveillance data. There's another category is data collected for other purposes, such as medical and insurance records. And the third category is epidemiological data collected for specific studies. A rate adjustment is a method that adjusts for differences in populations and can be used to compare across populations. Comparison groups are used. Incidence and prevalence measures in groups that differ in some important characteristics must be compared with and gain clues about factors which influence the distribution of disease. Applications of epidemiology in nursing. Nurses work in diverse settings and agencies with a range of responsibility. The practice of nursing is enhanced by understanding the application of epidemiological concepts and methods. Epidemiological measures are used to assess the health needs of a population. Planning and implementation of healthcare services, interventions, and policies depend on understanding factors that influence health and disease, and on the ability to evaluate interventions, programs, and policies. Community-oriented epidemiology. Nurses can be involved as epidemiologists conducting inspections and investigations, and as community liaisons involved in consultation and scientific interpretation. Popular epidemiology is a form of epidemiology in which lay people gather scientific data and mobilize knowledge and resources of experts to understand the occurrence and distribution of disease or injury, to support social movements, political and judicial approaches to remedies, and challenges to basic assumptions of traditional epidemiological risk assessment and public health regulations.